Where was your first kiss?
Her name was Lisa. It was in her garage. It was 4th grade. She was one street over.
For decades, Brad Pitt has embodied the Hollywood dream, charm, success, and a kind of effortless perfection that made him seem untouchable. But when it comes to love, even Brad hasn't been immune to heartbreak. Now, at 61, the Oscar winner looks back on the women who shaped his life, the ones who challenged him, changed him, and left behind stories he still can't quite forget. Each relationship tells its own tale of passion, pain, and the kind of connection that lingers long after it's gone. These are the 6 women Brad Pitt could never truly get over, and once you hear their stories, you'll see why. Jennifer Aniston. When Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt first met in 1994, sparks didn't exactly fly. They were friendly, but romance wasn't on the table. Jennifer later described her first impression of Brad as that of a sweet, down-to-earth guy from Missouri, just a normal man, which was rare in Hollywood. At the time, neither of them was single. Jennifer was dating actor Tate Donovan, and Brad was in a serious relationship with Gwyneth Paltrow. A few years later, when both found themselves single again, fate gave them another shot. By the end of 1999, they started dating, and the chemistry was undeniable. Their relationship moved fast. Just 5 months after getting together, they were engaged. And by August 2000, the couple tied the knot in a lavish Malibu ceremony that was pure Hollywood magic. Their wedding was the stuff of legend, a $1 million celebration with 200 guests, walls of flowers, endless champagne, and even fireworks lighting up the night sky. Performances by Billy Preston, Melissa Etheridge, and a gospel choir made it an unforgettable event. Jennifer's friends admitted they were initially cautious about how fast things were moving, but once they met Brad, all doubts vanished. They saw how loving and genuine he was, and soon everyone was rooting for them. For a while, everything seemed picture perfect. They were America's golden couple, Brad, the movie star heartthrob, and Jennifer, the beloved girl next door from Friends. But behind the smiles and red carpet appearances, cracks quietly began to show. By 2005, their marriage came to an end and the world couldn't stop talking about it. The reason? Brad had met Angelina Jolie while filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith, a movie that blurred the lines between fiction and reality. Suddenly, the tabloids were on fire with rumors of an on-set affair. Jennifer later admitted that she was completely blindsided by how quickly things unfolded. With conflicting reports flying everywhere, she said she chose to believe her husband and tried to trust his version of events. Her friend and Friends co-star Courtney Cox later revealed that Brad had actually been open with Jennifer about developing a close bond with Angelina. Even if there wasn't any physical betrayal, his emotional distance during that time was enough to strain their marriage beyond repair. The connection he found with his co-star seemed to pull him away from his wife. When Brad was asked directly whether his feelings for Angelina were the cause of his divorce, he denied it. But many suspected that while Angelina might not have been the only reason, she certainly played a part. Jennifer later summed up their breakup in 6 simple words that said it all. Brad, she said, was missing a sensitivity chip. It was a quiet but telling remark, hinting at emotional disconnect rather than dramatic betrayal. Things didn't get easier when Brad gave an interview to Parade magazine in 2011, describing his marriage to Jennifer as unfulfilling and dull. He said he had been pretending to live a life that wasn't true to who he was. The comment didn't sit well with fans, who felt he had disrespected her. Brad later clarified that his words were misunderstood and that he was taking responsibility for his own unhappiness at the time, not criticizing Jennifer. Still, the damage was done. Beneath all the media noise, there were genuine differences in their goals and priorities. People close to the couple revealed that they were on separate pages about starting a family. Brad had a more abstract idea about wanting kids someday, while Jennifer wanted to begin that chapter sooner rather than later. Combine that with their demanding careers, Brad's transition into one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars, and Jennifer's skyrocketing fame on Friends, and it's not hard to see how their relationship became strained. After their divorce, both moved on. Jennifer eventually found love again with actor and writer Justin Theroux. while Brad began his now infamous relationship with Angelina Jolie, a partnership that lasted over a decade before ending in its own very public split. But even as the years passed, people never stopped wondering about Brad and Jen. Interestingly, despite everything, it seemed Brad never completely stopped caring about her. Sources close to him claimed that he always kept tabs on Jennifer and truly wanted her to be happy, even after decades apart. One insider even said that although their marriage ended long ago, he never lost his affection for her and genuinely hoped she'd find the right person. Then, in a twist no one saw coming, Brad and Jennifer's friendship found its way back into the spotlight. After Brad split from Angelina, rumors started circulating in 2017 that he had reached out to his ex-wife. By 2019, the two were officially back in touch, and soon after, the world got photographic proof. Brad attending Jennifer's 50th birthday party, and later, the viral reunion moment at the 2020 SAG Awards. The sight of them laughing and holding hands sent fans into a frenzy. Naturally, everyone started hoping for a romantic rekindling, but insiders quickly shut that down. Those close to the pair said that while they deeply respect and care for each other, getting back together was never on the table. They broke up for real reasons, and both had grown too much to make the same mistakes twice. Still, their renewed friendship became one of Hollywood's most heartwarming surprises. What began as a fairy tale romance, followed by years of public heartbreak and speculation, eventually evolved into a story of maturity, forgiveness, and mutual respect. Gwyneth Paltrow. When it comes to iconic 90s romances, few were as memorable as Brad Pitt and Gwyneth Paltrow. Their story began on the set of the dark thriller C7 a film that would go on to become a classic. At the time, both were young, ambitious, and on the brink of superstardom. But before the cameras even finished rolling, something deeper began to unfold between them. For Brad, it was instant. He later admitted he was completely smitten from the moment he laid eyes on her. He couldn't even form words around her, which is saying something for one of Hollywood's most confident leading men. Gwyneth, on the other hand, didn't immediately catch on. She later recalled that she thought he was just being friendly until she realized she was developing a crush, and then tried to convince herself it was impossible. But it wasn't. Before long, sparks flew, and the two became one of Hollywood's favorite power couples. They embodied everything about 1990s romance: matching haircuts, coordinated outfits, and the kind of open affection that made them both relatable and glamorous at the same time. Gwyneth was genuinely happy and said that they were best friends who loved spending time together, whether cooking dinner at home or going out on quiet dates. Then came one of the most unforgettable moments in award show history. When Brad Pitt won a Golden Globe for 12 Monkeys in 1996, he stood before millions and declared Gwyneth the love of his life, his angel. It was raw, romantic, and absolutely headline-worthy. By December of that same year, the couple was engaged, sealing their place as the golden pair of the decade. But just 6 months later, everything changed. In June 1997, their publicists confirmed that they had broken up. There was no dramatic scandal, no cheating, no explosive fallout. Friends close to the couple made it clear it was simply a case of two people facing real-life relationship struggles. Still, the world couldn't believe it. For a long time, both of them stayed quiet about what had gone wrong. Then, about a year later, Gwyneth began to open up a bit. She explained that sometimes, no matter how perfect things look from the outside, two people just aren't meant to be together. Over the years, she's reflected on that time with honesty and maturity, often taking responsibility for the breakup. In interviews, Gwyneth admitted that she was too young and unsure of herself back then. She pointed out that Brad, being 9 years older, was ready for commitment, while she was still trying to figure out who she was. She later described feeling like she wasn't living up to expectations, struggling with her own self-worth. It was a vulnerable moment for her, one that she said became a pattern in her relationships at the time. Years later, during an appearance on the Girl Boss Radio podcast, she went a step further and offered a heartfelt apology directly to Brad. She admitted that she had made mistakes in her romantic life and that she often found love to be the area where she was most insecure. She said it took years of self-reflection and growth to finally understand what went wrong back then. It was her way of saying she wished things had been different. Despite the heartbreak, time eventually healed the wounds between them. Gwyneth later revealed that while they didn't speak for a while after the breakup, they eventually reconnected nearly 2 decades ago and have stayed friendly ever since. She spoke fondly of Brad, calling him an incredible person, creative, kind, and full of integrity. She said she truly adored him and remained a big fan, showing that whatever happened in the past was long forgiven. Looking back, Gwyneth has often commented on how different their relationship would have been in today's world. She's expressed gratitude that their romance took place in the early 90s, a time before paparazzi and social media could turn private heartbreak into public chaos. She recalled that when their breakup hit the cover of the New York Post, there were no cameras camped outside her home, something that would be unimaginable today. But of course, not everything about moving on was easy. Years later, when Brad married Jennifer Aniston, reports surfaced that Gwyneth felt a little sadness upon hearing the news. According to Amy Odell's biography of the actress, Gwyneth kept her emotions mostly private, but did confide in friends that the wedding stirred up old feelings. She even joked, perhaps a little defensively, that Brad had terrible taste in women. It was classic Hollywood gossip, the kind of thing that fueled tabloids for weeks. Still, time has a way of softening everything. Fast forward to recent years, and the two have become not just friendly but genuinely supportive of each other's work. When Brad launched his new skincare line, Gwyneth, now the founder of Goop, actually interviewed him for her platform. Their conversation was lighthearted and affectionate, filled with the easy warmth of two people who shared history and had grown beyond it. Brad even joked about their old engagement, saying everything had worked out in the end. Gwyneth, with her trademark wit, laughed and said she had finally found the Brad she was meant to marry, referring to her husband, Brad Falchuk. It was a full-circle moment that showed how much both had evolved. The interview ended on a genuinely touching note. Brad told her how lovely it was to have her as a friend again, and that he still loved her in that lasting, platonic way that comes from deep respect. Gwyneth smiled and said she loved him too. Juliette Lewis. Back in the late 1980s and early 1990s, Hollywood was buzzing with young talent trying to make their mark, and right in the middle of it all was a romance that had everyone talking: Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis. Their story began in 1989, when they met on the set of the made-for-TV film Too Young to Die. At the time, both were still rising stars, finding their footing in an industry that was about to turn them into household names. Juliette was just 17, still in her teens, while Brad was 27 and already beginning to gain attention as one of Hollywood's most promising new faces. Their on-screen roles were already intense. Juliette played a 15-year-old runaway, and Brad portrayed her hustler. That energy between them carried off-screen too, sparking a relationship that would last 4 years. Naturally, the 10-year age gap raised eyebrows, but the two didn't seem bothered by the noise. Juliette, looking back years later, described it as a sweet and youthful chapter. She said it was simply two young people figuring life out together. Despite the controversy, she called it a wonderful, loving relationship with a fun, smart guy. Brad, by then a rising heartthrob, had dated other actresses like Jill Schoelen and Christina Applegate, but it was clear that his connection with Juliette was something deeper. They quickly moved in together, building a quiet life away from the Hollywood spotlight. Juliette later remembered those early days fondly, describing them as simple and peaceful. She told Black Book magazine that it was a time when both of them were still unknown, living in a small bungalow off Melrose where they'd hang out, relax, and enjoy life without the pressures of fame. Brad shared similar memories, calling that period one of pure fun. In an interview with Rolling Stone, he laughed about how they thought they were like Sid and Nancy, just two young dreamers chasing love and chaos in equal measure. As their careers took off, the public began to take notice. Juliette earned an Oscar nomination for Cape Fear, while Brad became a breakout star after his role in Thelma and Louise. Suddenly, they were the new it couple of the early 90s. Red carpets, magazine covers, and interviews all wanted a piece of them. Then came California in 1993, the film that brought them together on screen once again, this time as lovers on a dark, gritty road trip. For Juliette, working alongside Brad was something she cherished deeply. She said they were at that point in love where they simply couldn't get enough of each other. Brad also loved it. He described filming as feeling more like a vacation than work, because he got to be close to the woman he loved every day. But like many Hollywood romances, the flame eventually burned out. Not long after finishing California, they quietly went their separate ways in 1993. Juliette's publicist simply said they planned to remain friends, and that was that. Still, their relationship continued to fascinate fans long after it ended. Juliette later reflected on that time with a calm maturity. In a 2006 interview with The Guardian, she described their love as something that now felt like a high school relationship. She spoke of Brad with warmth and respect, saying she genuinely hoped he found happiness. In her words, 4 years was an eternity at that time. There was also a sense of wistfulness in how she looked back. She admitted it was strange that they were now strangers, living completely different lives. She said she no longer knew him as an adult, and he no longer knew her. But she still remembered the kind of person he was: curious, courageous, and always drawn to interesting women. She admired how he came from a small world in Missouri and had the guts to step into something much bigger. That quiet reflection captured something universal about love and change, the way someone can once be the center of your world only to fade into memory over time. It's like that lyric from Emma Tricka's Lost in New York about people who walk into your life, change everything, and then disappear, leaving behind only traces of what once was. In the years that followed, Juliette continued to get questions about Brad Pitt, and she often brushed them off with a laugh. She once pointed out that people only asked because he became such a massive star, even though she had far more meaningful relationships afterward, including her marriage. Brad, however, never shied away from speaking fondly of her. In an interview with Vanity Fair, he described their time together as one of the best periods of his life. He admitted he still loved her and called her a real genius, saying their relationship was one of the greatest he'd ever had. He also reflected on how love is often romanticized. "We grow up thinking love conquers all," he said, but that's just not true. It was an honest take from a man who had learned that even the strongest connections sometimes can't withstand the realities of time and fame. Even today, both Brad Pitt and Juliette Lewis look back on that chapter with nothing but respect and nostalgia. They've long moved on, building separate worlds and careers that rarely cross paths, yet the affection between them is still evident whenever they speak about it. Juliette once said they don't exist in the same universe anymore, but you can still sense the genuine fondness she has for him. Margot Robbie. When Margot Robbie was filming Babylon alongside Brad Pitt, she decided to take a bold chance that would end up making headlines everywhere. During one of their scenes together, she leaned in and kissed him, completely unscripted. It wasn't planned, but Margot figured it was a once-in-a-lifetime moment. As she later explained, it just felt like something her character would do. So she went for it. And honestly, who could blame her? After the movie came out, though, that spontaneous moment set off a storm of rumors. Fans started wondering if there was more going on between the two stars off-screen. Their easy chemistry, playful interviews, and constant praise for each other didn't help quiet things down either. There's even a popular video montage online showing Brad practically glowing whenever he talks about her. The whole thing only added to the mystique surrounding their friendship. But despite all the buzz, there's a clear reality behind the scenes. Margot Robbie has been happily married to Tom Ackerley since 2016. The two even co-founded a successful production company, Lucky Chap Entertainment, and they share one child together. Their marriage has always been private but strong, so the idea of Margot and Brad secretly dating doesn't really hold up. Still, it's easy to see why people were curious. Brad Pitt's romantic history has always been complicated. His marriage to Angelina Jolie ended in a very public and painful divorce, with serious accusations and deep family rifts that still linger. Before that, he was famously married to Jennifer Aniston, and many fans believe there's still unfinished emotional business between them. That kind of baggage makes it hard to imagine Brad jumping into something serious again, especially with someone like Margot, whose life is already so full and grounded. There's also a pattern that's followed Brad throughout his relationships. He's reportedly struggled with insecurity when his partners have been in the spotlight more than he was at the time. Back when he dated Gwyneth Paltrow, for instance, sources claimed he felt overshadowed by her rising fame. It's an interesting detail to consider when looking at his dynamic with Margot. Margot, on the other hand, is in her prime. Her career has skyrocketed, especially after Barbie, which made over $1 billion at the box office. She's already been nominated for multiple Oscars, and her star power only continues to grow. Brad, though still a legend, is in a different stage of his career. It's not hard to imagine that imbalance becoming an issue, if they ever did try to turn their friendship into something romantic. In the end, the chemistry between Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie might make for great movies and even better gossip, but that's probably where it should stay. They work well together, they respect each other, and they clearly enjoy the connection they share. But as far as real romance goes, they seem far better suited as professional partners and good friends. And honestly, that's probably what keeps their bond so natural in the first place. Ines de Ramon. The rumor mill really started buzzing about Brad Pitt and Ines de Ramon on November 13, 2022, when the two were spotted together at a Bono concert in Los Angeles. Cameras caught them outside the Orpheum Theater, mingling with big names like Cindy Crawford and Sean Penn. What caught everyone's eye, though, was how close they stood to each other. Brad seemed relaxed, even pulling Ines closer from time to time. The night had a cool, laid-back vibe. Brad went for a simple look: fleece jacket, white t-shirt, jeans, and his trademark floppy brown hat, while Ines turned heads in sleek leather pants, a crop top under a plaid shirt, and a bright yellow Fendi bag. Despite being surrounded by A-list celebrities, Ines appeared completely at ease, not the least bit starstruck. It was clear she was comfortable in Brad's world. Their next big moment together came at the Babylon premiere on December 15, 2022. Brad walked the red carpet solo, which wasn't unusual, but he made headlines when he arrived at the after-party with Ines. It was only their second public appearance, yet it felt like things were moving to the next level. Witnesses said the two seemed close, occasionally putting their arms around each other while chatting with guests. Bringing someone to such a high-profile event signaled that Brad's connection with Ines was becoming more meaningful. Although they weren't photographed side by side, fans still got a glimpse of Ines's elegant look when celebrity makeup artist Katie Danza shared photos online. Ines wore a floor-length gown with stunning diamond accessories, looking effortlessly glamorous. It was clear she knew how to shine in Hollywood's spotlight. A few days later, the pair was spotted again, this time celebrating a joint birthday dinner at the Los Angeles restaurant Pace on December 18th. It was Brad's 59th birthday, and with Ines's birthday the very next day, it looked like a shared celebration. As they left the restaurant, they were all smiles, laughing, hugging, and loading birthday gifts into their car. Their easy chemistry and genuine happiness hinted that their relationship was quickly deepening. Just 2 months after they were first seen together, Brad and Ines took their romance international. Instead of attending a glitzy Hollywood New Year's Eve party, they slipped away to Cabo San Lucas for a quiet getaway. Reports described them lounging poolside, completely at ease with one another. Ines went topless under the sun, wearing only a sarong and sunglasses, while Brad relaxed beside her, showing off his tattoos and reading what looked like a film script. Away from the flashing cameras and chaos of Los Angeles, the couple seemed peaceful and content, a sign of a real connection rather than a publicity fling. Their next public outing was even grander. On February 24, 2023, Brad and Ines were seen together at the prestigious César Awards weekend in Paris, dining at the famous Fouquet's restaurant for a major gala event. The two looked every bit the power couple. Brad was classic in a black suit, while Ines dazzled in a shimmering silver gown, paired with a diamond choker and earrings that perfectly complemented her jewelry executive background. Brad wasn't in Paris just for a date night, though. He was there to present a Lifetime Achievement Award to his longtime collaborator and friend, director David Fincher. The fact that he invited Ines to join him on such a professional and personal occasion spoke volumes. When someone brings you along to a milestone moment like that, it's not casual anymore. It's serious. Meanwhile, the timeline around Ines's previous marriage helped explain how she and Brad's paths crossed so naturally. She had been married to actor Paul Wesley, known for The Vampire Diaries, but the couple had quietly separated around April 2022 after 4 years together. They officially filed for divorce in February 2023, citing irreconcilable differences. So by the time she started being seen with Brad later that year, she had already been single for several months. Interestingly, Paul Wesley had also moved on, dating model Natalie Kuckenberg, which suggested both exes were ready for new beginnings. For Brad, who has lived much of his romantic life in the public eye, his connection with Ines seemed refreshingly grounded. After enduring years of media scrutiny following his divorces from Jennifer Aniston and Angelina Jolie, it appeared he was finally in a calmer, more private phase of life. Sources close to the couple said Brad had been supportive of Ines as she navigated her own divorce, and that their shared experiences with failed marriages helped them bond on a deeper level. Unlike his tumultuous split from Jolie, Ines and Paul's divorce was relatively simple. They had no children, and both were moving forward amicably. That kind of peace was likely a welcome change for Brad, who was still tied up in legal battles and custody disputes with Angelina. The public couldn't help but notice the age difference between Brad and Ines. He was 59, and she was 32. While that's nearly 3 decades apart, insiders said it didn't bother either of them. Those close to Brad described their relationship as relaxed and full of playful energy. Apparently, he was more vibrant than ever, proving that age hadn't slowed him down one bit. As for what his exes might think of his new romance, sources claimed Brad wasn't concerned at all. He reportedly didn't care what Angelina or Paul Wesley thought. After years of stress and conflict, his focus was on enjoying life again and surrounding himself with positivity. Angelina, of course, remained entangled with him in ongoing legal disputes, but Brad seemed determined to move past the negativity and embrace happiness with someone new. Despite all the speculation, neither Brad nor Ines has publicly confirmed their relationship. Still, their steady appearances together and reports from insiders paint a clear picture. Ines's calm demeanor and uplifting personality have reportedly been a breath of fresh air for Brad, who has weathered intense public scrutiny and personal challenges over the last several years. Those close to him say he's in a much better place emotionally, thanks to her presence. After everything, from divorce drama to career pressures, he's finally found someone who brings him peace rather than chaos. Even if marriage isn't in the cards for Brad anymore, many fans are quietly rooting for this new chapter to last. Nicole Poturalski. When the rumor mill started spinning about Brad Pitt dating German model Nicole Poturalski, the internet practically lost its mind. She was nearly 30 years younger than him, had long brown hair, full lips, and a striking resemblance to a younger Angelina Jolie. That alone was enough to send fans into a frenzy, but the story only got wilder from there. Soon after the news broke, reports surfaced that Nicole was already married to a much older man named Roland Mary, a successful German restaurateur who, according to the Daily Mail, was 41 years her senior. And then came the jaw-dropping twist. The couple was allegedly in an open marriage. Sources claimed Roland had been married several times before, had 5 children, and wasn't interested in jealousy or negativity. Nicole, on her part, was said to be calm and philosophical about the unconventional arrangement, which left fans completely stunned. The story of how Brad and Nicole first met almost felt like something straight out of a movie. It all supposedly began in August 2019 at a stylish Berlin restaurant called Borchardt, owned by none other than Nicole's husband Roland Mary. According to reports, Brad was instantly captivated by her. He wasn't new to the restaurant either. He had spent time there back in 2009 while filming *Inglourious Bastards, and had even become friends with Mary. In an interesting twist, that same restaurant now carries Pitt's own Chateau Miraval rose wine, the one from the vineyard he once shared with Angelina Jolie. While some accounts claimed that their first meeting happened at Borchardt, others told a slightly different story. People magazine reported that Brad and Nicole were first seen together later that month at the Berlin premiere after-party for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Sources from that event described them as very flirty, hinting that their chemistry was instant. Behind the scenes, the pair kept things surprisingly quiet. For months, they managed to fly under the radar before anyone caught on. Reports later revealed that they had been spotted at a Kanye West concert at the Hollywood Bowl in November 2019. That sighting lined up with claims that they had first connected just a few months earlier in Berlin. Witnesses said the two were seen laughing and chatting in the VIP section, seemingly enjoying each other's company while the crowd's attention was elsewhere. Interestingly, Brad and Nicole shared more than just chemistry. They were both parents. Brad, of course, has 6 children with his ex-wife, Angelina Jolie, Maddox, Pax, Zahara, Shiloh, and twins Vivian and Knox. Despite the turbulence of his divorce and custody battles, insiders have often described him as a devoted father who finds strength and inspiration in his children. Nicole, meanwhile, is a mother to one son named Emil, who has occasionally appeared on her social media. By the summer of 2020, Brad and Nicole's relationship had moved from quiet flirtation to international headlines. In August, they were photographed meeting at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. Eyewitnesses said they kept things low-key as they quickly boarded a private jet bound for the south of France. Brad, arriving from the United States, looked casual in khaki pants and a green sweater, while Nicole embodied effortless travel chic in tan trousers, a leather jacket, and a sun hat. The two made quite the picture of style and sophistication. Brad has long been fascinated by aviation. He even holds a pilot's license. And Angelina Jolie has spoken in the past about his passion for flying. That detail added an extra layer of intrigue to their whirlwind travels, leaving fans to wonder if Brad ever personally flew Nicole to any of their destinations. Their trip destination, however, stirred up even more controversy. They weren't just heading anywhere in France. They were flying to Chateau Miraval, the very same estate Brad co-owns with Angelina Jolie. To make things even more dramatic, the timing of the trip coincided with his and Angelina's wedding anniversary, August 23rd. That's right, the same date and the same location where the Hollywood couple exchanged vows back in 2014. The symbolism didn't go unnoticed. Many saw it as a bold move, maybe even a pointed one. Some reports suggested Brad didn't care if it upset his ex-wife, while others downplayed it, saying he was simply there for a business trip related to his wine brand and Nicole was just accompanying him for the weekend. Either way, witnesses described them as affectionate and carefree, with one outlet even claiming they were spotted kissing at the airport like teenagers in love. Looking back, the pairing made a certain kind of sense. Brad was still knee-deep in legal battles and emotional strain from his divorce, so a relaxed, non-committal relationship may have been exactly what he needed. Nicole, still married but in an open arrangement, wasn't looking for anything too conventional either. Their lifestyles and circumstances aligned perfectly for something light and easy, something that didn't demand permanence. Distance also played a role in shaping the relationship's dynamic. With Brad living in Los Angeles and Nicole based in Berlin, their setup naturally kept things casual. Sources close to the actor said he wasn't looking for another serious commitment, and that the long-distance element actually worked in his favor. It allowed him to focus on his personal growth, family, and ongoing legal matters, while still enjoying a romantic escape now and then. Brad reportedly thought Nicole was beautiful, intelligent, and kind, a refreshing presence in his life at a time when everything else seemed complicated. Yet, like many Hollywood flings, it eventually ran its course. By October 2020, just over 2 months after their romance became public, multiple outlets confirmed that the two had parted ways.